stakeholders within the community, and to preserve and strengthen social and national solidarity, among other things. To preserve and strengthen positive African cultural values in our relations with other members of the society, in the spirit of tolerance, the spirit of dialogue and consultation, and in general to contribute to the moral well-being of our society. The directive principles of state policy, on the other hand, which are contained in Chapter 20 of our Constitution, recognize and reflect quite significantly these provisions of the African Charter regarding the duties of a citizen in respect of promoting and upholding national sovereignty. For instance, Section 220 of the Constitution declares that the exercise and enjoyment of rights and freedoms are inseparable from the performance of duties and obligations, and that every citizen accordingly should promote the prestige and good reputation of the country, uphold and defend the Constitution, foster unity and live harmoniously with others, respect the rights and freedoms and legitimate interests of others, and refrain from acting in a manner detrimental to the welfare of other persons. That we will serve the Gambia by working conscientiously, that we will protect and preserve public property, that we will contribute to the well-being of the community, and that we will overall be loyal to the Gambia and contribute to its defense. But it's not only individual citizens who are the object of duties and obligations. The constitutional directive principles of state policy also identify certain duties, care and protection of the weak and disadvantaged in our own community. These duties set out in the directive principles are not legal duties, it must be clarified, but the Constitution nonetheless, at Section 211, creates a legal obligation for the executive, the legislature, and all other organs of state, quote, in taking policy decisions, in making laws, and in the administration of the Gambia, unquote, to be guided by and observe them with a view to achieving, by legislation or other means, the full realization of these principles. On our part, the directive principles also entitle the courts to have regard to these principles in the interpretation and application of any laws. Thus, these directive principles whilst not directly creating binding legal obligations, provide a very strong framework for building solidarity as a route to peace and as a route to progress within our community. It is thus important, indeed necessary, for all of us, the government, the citizens, and all organs of state, to be guided by these principles in their decision-making process. Beyond this formal and temporal legal framework, we have the benefit of a diverse, great cultural heritage, and our religious heritage as well, from Islam and from Christianity.
In the coming 4 decades, to really make the Gambia a dreamland for all Gambians. The answers seem to lie in the theme. We must march together, that is, in solidarity, use our human and material resources to develop the country speedily. From a socio-political perspective, marching figuratively means working collectively, and it has both horizontal and vertical dimensions. It can come about through our structures at various levels, formal and informal. In other words, we must work collectively through our governance structures, institutions, communities, families, social groupings, and through every individual. This means that, first and foremost, we must submit to the Constitution and and laws of the land. Also, we must be guided by a common vision, work towards the same destiny, be aware of the barriers to peace, security, stability, and progress to brilliance is that we cannot afford a repetition of the bitter experience of the past. If we are to march in solidarity, we must cooperate as a nation, a people, a community, and as units of the existing legitimate structures. In whatever we do, it should be with the bigger or national picture in view. To succeed in this endeavor, we must plan together, execute our plans together, and protect the results of our labor. In fostering national solidarity, it is worth remembering that unity begins in the heart. It is nurtured and fueled by the mind and executed as a national project. The general view must take precedence over any particular issue or individual, with the awareness that it is the sum of the individuals and the particular issues that constitute the whole. With this in mind, we must prioritize the people's interests, aspirations, concerns, and welfare in all spheres of development: educational, health-related, social, political, economic, or otherwise. These are the types of attitudes, values, principles, and basic elements that generate self-reliance. I hold the view that self-reliance is not simply about taking decisions. It connotes looking inward as a nation, planning, prioritizing, and taking appropriate actions based on our resources, potential, and abilities. To be self-reliant, we have to take our destiny into our own hands, respect our sovereignty, and strive for self-sufficiency in our major areas of need. In addition, we must have the capacity, capability, freedom, and choice to make decisions and act on them with timeliness. The end result of this should hinge on constructive work.
In addition to that, key higher education institutions are being reformed. MDI will be, how to call it, emphasizing public administration. How to call it, Gambia College will emphasize teacher training and at different levels, etc., etc. But the most interesting part is that we are also left in the educational sector for science and tech. And I think this is exactly what you said is trying to address. To make sure we have engineers, when they graduate, they can go out and serve what we expect of them. On agriculture, I think food self-sufficiency has been a challenge. But in the past, like he said, some of us who grow from the rural areas, our mothers used to stock rice from 1 year to the other. That does not mean that not much is happening. Rice production has been focused as the principal priority of the government, and in these recent years, there has been significant progress in that area. It's picking up significantly. You spoke about mechanization. I agree we cannot feed ourselves if we are still using old hands. It is very encouraging and a new phenomenon. You have the likes of Jar Oil, the Maru Farms, and many others, 6 other smaller ones, who are expanding in rice production, which is commendable. You also have some support in that area from our bilateral partners of Japan, South Korea, and the Chinese. However, in agriculture again, climate change is the biggest threat. Every 45 years, we witness drought every 45 years. We cannot be looking up into the sky for water. We should be looking at the ground and the river to make sure we have a year-round agriculture. Quickly on health, we are doing relatively well in terms of health centers and new facilities, health facilities. But I think we should also concentrate on providing capacity for the doctors, which is the drugs, and also the equipment, so that any citizen who walks into a health center can have his needs addressed by finding a competent doctor, getting the correct prescription, as well as getting the medication. I will conclude by saying that we need to emphasize in few areas. Food security is very much a priority if we are going to be self-sustained. Domestic resource mobilization, we cannot understate that. Infrastructure, stability, and peace. To conclude, I want to invoke the concept of city-state. We are blessed to have a very good road network.
Give me the stadium, and that is where I'm operating in Soma, through the area council, and we have a center in Soma. Now I'm operating in 4 regions in the Gambia. That's North Bank, Elara, West Coast, and recently in Kofi. We want to decentralize skills. If we decentralize skills, we reduce rural-urban drift, we'll encourage entrepreneurship in the rural areas, and it will be more viable in the rural areas. Firstly, every young person I train, they come to school and sell in the evening. It's a marketable environment. The environment is very conducive to make business. And the young people are making businesses there. So why can't we do more to do that? For me to get there and then train a lot of young people, ITC have really supported us when they come with the YEP. They've supported 60 of our young people to open their own businesses. And through that, 40 of those young people I give to the rural and only 20 to the urban. So we have 40 businesses that were supported by ITC through our project from 2021 to 2023. And if we have projects coming in and doing that, that can help us. Mohammed did not highlight Gambia, but he also supported Gambia when I won the Woman of the Year award by DCCI. He came around and gave me 300,000 and said, add this. So if we have Gambians like him adding value, contributing to our national development, it will work. Now I have seen the Ministry of Higher Education turning around, working in Tibet, supporting Tibet, decentralizing skills, have a Tibet policy, have scholarships for Tibet. But let me tell you, most of those scholarships goes to the public institutions. They recently have a project with World Bank that they said they will also give to the private, but most of these scholarships goes to the public. So for my suggestions, moving forward, government should encourage public-private partnership. Government should have at least make land acquisition not tedious for us because we are in value to the national development that they are. Decentralizing the scholarships that they give to young people, so that we'll train them and give them the best skills for them to go out there. If young people have skills, they will not think of crimes. They will not think of robbers, and we're very scared right now. I don't go out 8 o'clock nowadays. Everybody is thinking, if I leave, what's going to happen to me? But
time, why na mumanu free book for interpreter neka ko. Dede. Boga na Gambia ngena. Mutaka sendiga. Nyudi male wetale. Parce hangel tun ton. Liya to take block Mohammed Jalum def ñeneen def nañ ko dina ba. Ñaan national TV DRTF sen management ba legi. Mënuñu employ interpreter. Pour def you understand nous. Ya xool ci time ñu stand. Language yëpp am nañ ak Arab. Dem def sign language, sign language. Xam ne man mi wax ni dégguma seen voice yi dégguma seen dara fii. Interpreter moom ma di ba dama de wax rek. Waaye dégguma dara su ma waa su diggante du ma ko dee dégg. moto muna ñëw ba mun tampon ma sama de duma dégga dégguma benn poñ dégguma benn taxoon dégguma babre ton dara waaye laamin bi rek moo set ma wax turu feebar laa ko amee bon ne ngeen Gambian si génne leen ak ñu nekk si government bi ministre yi génne leen ngeen waxtaan luy seen problème pour mënu budget interpréter pour télévision bi ñu xam lan la news bi di wax ak citizen of the country Adama Barrow votal nañ ko ba mu taw ministre bi ñu indil seen salaire yi votal nañ leen without suñu vote duñ mën a win ba ñu toog waaye ñu tan décision making ña ñu nekk la suñu décision bi ak suñu opportunity lii mooy lan lii part of discrimination so what is the constitution Gambia ñu ngi wax about human rights equal opportunity amul human rights amul si Gambia parce que su amee interpreter war nañ ko employé si national TV bi jaatu maa ne jaamu nga ko lu ëpp salaire pour interpreter loolu tam defuñ ko gërëm naa ko ci pour ñu dimbale waaye maa ngi leen di ñaan
start with a comment that what the Imam said, and also I think Mr. Seka, I think we have a common disease, and we should be able to think together. How do we address this disease? And that's our value system. I think we need to think together. How do we deal with our value system, behaviors, our attitudes? That's the first question about, to everybody. Maybe we can think together. But my specific question goes to, what's it said? Mr. Jao. Mr. Jao, I understand you are one of the operators at the university, one of the university professors. And it's just fitting that I address this question to you. Starting with a preamble, we all know that universities serve as intellectual backbone of national development, providing research, innovation.
Don't forget, when you talk very bad about Gambia, it's not only Gambians. People from outside, they listen to us. They quote from our speeches. We should be very careful when we talk about the rhetoric, very bad state of the country. The politicians should be very mindful about that. We drive away people who want to invest in the country. Number two, political stability is the main important factor. I remember during the last days of Sadawala in 1994, Jawara was talking about the Singapore syndrome. And that was a fact. I was in America in the office of the ambassador. When Sarah Jama was, we were there together. That was the reason he went there. But then all of a sudden there was a change of government, violent change of government. That stole everything. So we should be extremely careful. The stability of the country. Number one, that should be our priority. Then two, said Matthew, you mentioned about Tesido. I am an example of PPP Tesido.
Because on grand scheme of things, we are still respected and recognized, but a junior player. The story of Q Group defy big corporate dominance, and I think as a nation we can learn from that. Q Group started, as Mohammed would usually say, from his bedroom. It is true for nation. If it is true, it is true also for nation to also, like the Gambia, that we believe in ourselves and will be able to do it. And perhaps technology is the answer. Skill development and change of mindset, as eloquently discussed, would remove the dependency syndrome that we are, as Gambians, known for. But I also would want to suggest when the man gain your when you
ngolle tikita kola basama kiyata kanula kanula ngol fele muila ngela kakala billa gina tiyata ngolele monguya sakara polisi sonka mense okum menkulokum mofulodoro ilimba kile agino wala siri my sweetie happy baby Urubasio, Gizio, Insosio, I'm falling in the war. Urubasio, Gizio, Insosio, I'm falling in the war. You are the Moila, Alpha, Kumalita, you may kill him. You are the Moila, Alpha, Kumalita, you may kill him. Don't be kidding me.